The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix was a record breaker for Aston Martin, but probably not for a reason they would have wanted. Lance Stroll's Q1 exit was the 75th of his career, meaning he's now got more Q1 exits than any other driver in F1 history, which is a record that I'm sure he was overjoyed to have achieved. In all seriousness though, things at Aston Martin are pretty bad right now. The pointless run over the recent triple header has set alarm bells ringing at the team. With huge plans for 2026 and very serious ambitions of competing for a world championship, Aston Martin are worried that their poor form at the moment is going to derail everything. Today, I'll check out what pressing the panic button looks like at Aston Martin, where they go from here, and how their 2026 plans might be unravelling. So don't go anywhere. It will have been an uncomfortable month for the employees at the Aston Martin Silverstone factory. Lawrence Stroll is not a man known to hold back when he thinks his team is underperforming. A report by the race from earlier on in the season, which included some insider reports from within the Aston Martin team, said that when they have a bad race weekend, the atmosphere in the factory can get pretty uncomfortable. The debrief meetings which Lawrence attends can be brutal, with senior team members expected to explain their failures and also provide insight into how things are going to be changed going forward. Unfortunately for those employees, whatever plans they've been laying out to Lawrence Stroll over the past 2 years have been failing, and they've been failing pretty badly as well. Since that incredible run at the start of 2023, they have slipped further and further down the table, and the current car is the worst so far. Between Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso, they have only managed one Q3 appearance all season, and that came courtesy of Lance Stroll at the Chinese Grand Prix sprint race qualifying. I know I gave that Lance Stroll stat at the start, which was pretty damning, but Alonso has hardly been setting the world on fire with his performances either. He's pointless over the first 5 races this season. Now sure, he finished 11th twice, which is close to getting points, but no one's handing out prizes for getting close in Formula 1. You're either in the points or you're not. After another disappointing weekend in Saudi Arabia, Alonso said, "I gave everything on track. It was hard to keep up the pace with the cars in front. We were just not quick enough. P11 is the worst position probably you can finish, and we need to get used to it. It's going to be difficult to score points this year. Today we were P11 also because Yuki and Gasly had contact in lap 1 and Liam had a 10-second penalty. If not, we were P14. It is a brutal but pretty honest assessment from Alonso. The AMR25 is simply not fast enough, and the only thing that can mean is that the team at the factory have not done a good enough job. At this point, you could point out that they are currently ahead of the Racing Bulls, of Sauber and Alpine, and I'm not stood here making a video on any of those teams doing poorly, which would be a pretty fair point. But my response is that Aston Martin are not the same as the rest of the teams at the bottom of the table. Lawrence Stroll has spent hundreds of millions of dollars in recent years building an incredible state-of-the-art facility at Silverstone. He's gone and poached some of the best technical staff from across the sport to fill that facility with as well. And when you have a team investing that kind of money and amassing that kind of talent, it builds expectations in a way that a slowly decaying Alpine team and a Red Bull B team are just never going to do. The team knows that what they're producing at the moment is not good enough. And this week, the crisis talks have begun at the team. Team principal Andy Cowell revealed after the Saudi Grand Prix that the team knew they needed to make changes to the car, and that the entire senior management team would be meeting on Monday to talk about it. We're getting together on Monday to have a think about what we've learned over this triple header and what we can do going forward. Can we get more out of the car? Yes, I think we can. I think there's many areas where we look back over the last races and we can get more out of the car. Is it enough to win races? No. But is it where we can push forward a bit more? Yes, it is. We're learning about this car, and we're learning about all the new equipment we've got in the factory and how to push things forward. As much as learning about this current car and trying to get more out of it is important to the team, It's almost more important that Aston Martin don't compromise what they've got coming for next season. So at this point, any hope that the Aston Martin project is going to bear any kind of fruit under these technical regulations is gone. Those apples have ripened, they've fallen, and now they're just rotting on the ground somewhere in Silverstone. But hopefully, that rotting fruit will give birth to some new life in 2026. With new technical regulations, including a new engine, the competitive order has a big chance of seeing a serious shake-up next year, and ultimately, the Aston Martin project is hoping that that will be a turning point for them. Aston Martin have an ace up their sleeve in Adrian Newey, and despite the terrible start to 2025, he's keeping himself focused on nailing the new regulations which are coming next year. 100% of Adrian's designing time is focused on 2026, Kowal said ahead of the Saudi GP. Alonso was also asked if he would like Newey to have a look at the AMR 25, to which he responded, "I think ultimately it's his decision. He has enough experience, knowledge and background to know what is best, and I think he's working only on 2026. So if he's deciding that, I totally support that." Leaving arguably your best employee to focus on next season instead of helping out this season is pretty obviously going to cost Aston Martin. But it's understandable that the team are willing to accept a disappointing campaign over the next 8 months to put themselves in a strong position for next year. Throughout F1 history, it's been proven time and again that the best chance of changing the competitive order and making a really big leap forward in your competitiveness is when the regulations change. If at the meeting they had on Monday, Aston Martin decided that it was time to turn all their resources to 2026, then that would be fine. By doing that, Aston Martin can also secure a head start against the top teams. Unlike Red Bull or McLaren or even a Ferrari and a Mercedes, they aren't in the fight for a title and they don't have to get drawn into a development race either. Obviously, they would like to be in that situation. They would love to be in a title race this year, but the reality of the situation is that they aren't anywhere near it. All that's really left for them this season is to make the most of their current position and turn all their attention to 2026. During the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, a pretty incredible report appeared in La Gazzetta dello Sport. It claimed that Aston Martin was set to offer Max Verstappen a 3-year deal worth $300 million, which, if he accepted, would make him by far the best paid driver in the sport, by an absolutely massive margin actually. The contract would reportedly be funded by the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, which owns 20.5% of the team at the moment, but is reportedly trying to increase that to the point where it is just their team. Now, these two things go quite nicely hand in hand actually, the Saudi PIF owning Aston Martin and them trying to get Max Verstappen into the team. By buying Aston Martin, the Saudi PIF would remove the Stroll family controlling interest from the team, which would then mean they're free to get rid of Lance Stroll and just replace him with Max Verstappen. And that is a huge amount of money that they are offering Verstappen as well. But Max has made it pretty clear during his time in Formula 1 that, above all else, he wants to be in the sport to win. With Aston Martin showing a complete inability to improve their current car, how much faith does Verstappen have that next season is going to be any better? How much faith does he have that Honda are going to be able to build a decent engine for next season as well? Now, if Aston Martin had arrived this season with a car that was at least an improvement from last year, then Max could take some confidence from that. But the current state of the team's car does the exact opposite of inspiring confidence. Obviously, there is the Newey factor to consider for next season, but does Max trust one man to turn the entire team around? As good as Newey is, I know I wouldn't personally. Aston Martin are in a tough spot. Abandon this season's car and they can spend all their time and money on next season's car, which will be an advantage. But in doing so, they resign themselves to a horrible season. The possibility that they finish dead last in the Constructors' Championship and potentially put off Max from joining the team. But if you were in their position, what would you do? Let me know in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.